Hi, I've decided to do something different. I know I promised I would do a video on my birthday, really. Unfortunately, I didn't get around to doing that. And that is because, well, I had an issue with my little brother. I had attended his court hearing. Not really, it wasn't really for him, he was the victim. But I was asked to attend by the officer. And when I got there, the person who had hurt him, she was being like, oh, yes, it was a girl. I tried to talk to him. Unfortunately, it went very bad very quickly. She thought I was there to, as she said, do my mother's bidding. And I said to her, I don't do people's biddings. I help, but this is not one of those cases. I was asked to come because I was aware of the previous incident where my brother was hurt. And that is why I was there. However, I actually was a mess by the end of it. I was at home sobbing to the point where if you have contacts and you've ever cried, you know exactly what that does. It fogs them up. It is so hard to clean them out. It is ridiculous. And I was exhausted, and I felt like I'd caused my brother more pain. And I was very upset. Not at the way she reacted to me, but the fact that I knew she was going to take it out on him later. And I was very worried about him, and he was defending me. He didn't do anything wrong. And he was trying to explain to her that I didn't do anything. That he had asked me to come the last time because she was accusing me of interfering and like almost stalking them. And I'm like, listen, I could care less. And I flat out told her, it's my birthday. I did not come here to fight with anybody. I did not come here to flush my own day down the toilet. I came because I was asked to, and I am here as a friend. Regardless of what she's done to my brother loves her. Yes, it is a domestic situation. It is unfortunate. And then, I got COVID. I was confirmed as of last Thursday. Obviously, today is Tuesday. I think the worst of my days is over. I no longer am positive on the test. Thank God. But my stepdaughter is. So she is at home, and I needed to get out and do some fresh air. My other kids are at school. While my stepdaughter rests at home because she's an adult, so she doesn't go to school anymore. She graduated 2 years ago. And I wanted to do something, like I said, different. I was thinking about how to do this. I thought about actually going to an area that I normally go to, that I guess I'm working on. But I felt, actually, after thinking about it, that this would be the better place to start with this. As I told you guys before, I'm very introverted. I prefer to be alone, but that doesn't mean like I hate the outdoors. I love the outdoors. I love being out here. Love the smells, the sights, just the blue just actually brings on a sense of calm. But I like my peace. So where in the world am I going to go that I can do this without somebody butting my business and going, what are you doing? I'm at a cemetery. I don't work for Find a Grave, but I help. As I've told you guys before in previous videos, Find a Grave is almost completely run by just the public. It's like a Wikipedia, but for memorials. Sorry, I'm noticing a vehicle. I'm just watching it. What I started was, I started at a cemetery called Hillcrest. It's in Hermitage, Pennsylvania. It has 16,000 stones. They're all flat in order for them to mow the lawn. I know. There are many veterans, including one who survived Pearl Harbor, who's buried there. I've seen his Purple Heart on his stone. It's beautiful, actually. And many of my husband's family is buried there, as well as a few of my own, but mostly my husband's. I was there earlier. However, I have decided today to go to one that is closer to my own genealogy. This one is called Mount Washington. It's very small. Only a couple thousand. I'd say, honestly, about 6 or 7, if I can remember correctly. I photographed all of them. Just like I did in Hillcrest. 16,000. I photographed every single stone there was. In fact, I was there, again, like I said earlier, just trying to catch up on ones that I missed. This one is a very tiny cemetery. A very old one, too. Originally wasn't called Mount Washington. It was actually called, I believe, the Zanizer Cemetery. Because most of the family here was with the last name of Zanhire. And they're actually up front. I am in the lower quadrant right now. These are fairly newer graves, as you can see. Most of them have really pretty stones. They don't have that limestone look to them. This is also a very square cemetery, like literally. Now, if you can see up past my vehicle, yes, that's my vehicle. You can start to see where the stones become older. And way up at the top there, if you can start to see the ones leaning, you get into the limestone ones, which are the oldest ones of the entire group. They can date all the way back into the 1800s. I believe there's somebody in here who was even born in the 1700s. This is mainly my mother's side of the family that is here. Between both her father's side, which is, there's down there, my grandfather's parents are buried. And then up top are my mom's mother's side. And then, of course, we have the ones in between. The reason I am sitting specifically in this spot is this grave right here. It does not have a stone. But I know who's here. She was 13 years old, and she was murdered in New York City in 1981. It is a cold case. I was very lucky, actually, to find a cold case detective in New York just last July, and he has since picked up the case. I'm very excited to know that he has found DNA on items they kept in evidence that is not degraded, thank God. And we may actually know who killed her soon. I'm very excited about that. I never got to know her. I was born approximately 5 years later. So, I mean, when the detective asked me my interest and, of course, my alibi, I'm like, I didn't exist. Oops. But the family has talked about her for so long, you know, it got my attention, where, you know, I watch a lot of criminal documentaries, as does many other people. And, you know, there's always talk about how we can use old school DNA in order to figure out cases today, especially with familial DNA, which is when they put it in for genealogy and they find a relative. Maybe not necessarily somebody who's been incarcerated before, but they can use things like Ancestry in order to find a relative, hopefully close one, and then work backwards from there around their families, and then trace through either the Y chromosome or, of course, mitochondria, which is really neat. Her name is Vicki Lynn Rust, R-U-S-T. Vicki is V-I-C-K-I, and of course Lynn is Lynn. So if you actually log on to Find a Grave and you look up the cemetery Mount Washington, which is actually located in Jefferson Township. Jefferson Township is this little itty bitty town right between Mercer and Hermitage. Literally, like, they don't even have a school. That's how small they are. I swear, like, they got one stop sign. And you gotta go from 65 to 45 real quick as you're passing that area, because it's a straight shot through one of the main roads that goes from Hermitage to Mercer. But the police officer, he drives back and forth. This is that area. So if you look it up, I have uploaded her death certificate on there. I'm always encouraging anybody who has any insight into her death to come forward. I made a Facebook page dedicated to her. And I mean, honestly, all you gotta do is Facebook search Vicki Lynn Rest. And I am a monitor of that. I had to set it up where, you know, I block certain people, or I should say any posts from posting unless I see them, because unfortunately spammers were uploading terrible images and videos. I hated it. I was so mad because I wanted that to be a very free-flowing one. But that's not what happened. Okay, so this is Vicki's spot right here. You can even GPS locate it because I've taken a photo of this area right here just to say this is where she's at. I know she's there because I've spoken with the original caretakers of Mount Washington. This spot was donated as a plot by another Rust family member. He was also a teacher for Mercer High School, who has since passed away. He is actually buried now in another cemetery since his passing. But he gave up his spot, which was right here, to Vicki. I've also uploaded a lot of the old newspaper articles, so, you know, people have a gist of anything. And honestly, I would really like to draw attention again to her murder, because she was a little girl. She went to Mount Washington. Sorry, I heard a car door and it's like, who is it? Where are you at? But I don't see anybody, so they must be far enough away. So I don't bother them and they don't bother me. That's cool. And so anyway, so the point is, I want attention drawn to her. I want people to know, you know, there is family who want to know what happened. Her mother is still living, as are her 3 siblings. Now, the 3 siblings have asked for a lot of privacy, just because there's a reason why there's no headstone here either. The reason why you don't see a headstone for Vicki is because when everything happened to her, the police force didn't do a very good job in town here. I'm not talking about New York. I'm talking about locally. Vicki had run away. She hopped on a bus. She ended up in New York. She was dead in 3 days. 3 days. She was found strangled in an old warehouse that has since been torn down and is now a high-rise. But, I mean, I uploaded old maps to give everybody an idea of what, you know, what they're looking at. Basically, it was lower Manhattan area that she was killed in. And, is there anybody? I swear I keep hearing noises. Oh, you know what? Maybe it's the construction way down the road. That's probably it. It's probably just echoing up here. But, anyway. I don't have to know her to know, you know, what others have told me and what has been shared and passed down. And I do know that although her sisters and her brother and her father, who has since passed on, fought so hard to figure out what happened to her, they're pretty much the only ones that did. You know, everybody else was a lot of talk. I don't like getting credit for things. I just wanted somebody to pay attention. I know a lot of people give me credit right now saying, oh my goodness, you're the one that got the, you know, the police to investigate. That's nice. It's not about me. I truly want to know what happened to her. I want to know who did what. Was there a bunny? I swear, I hear it jumping and hopping and all kinds of stuff. This stone right here, I do hear something. What is that? I have no idea. Anyway, okay, so here's Vicki, right here. This stone right next to her are cousins. They are the Russ daughters of, well, the other Russ. Actually, their parents are buried over there. I know this because I have done, like I said, I've photographed this whole place. So if I take a small walk to this beautiful cemetery, again, let's see, their parents are over here. I know, we're doing a history lesson today. Oh, there's Ruth Rust. And where are they? I know they are here. McCullough. Lots of McCulloughs here. Lots of Andersons. And Walmers. Let's see. I know. Sorry. I should have actually probably done this before I even turned this on, instead of taking this little walk. But it's nice to get out. There's Wilson Rust. Aha! Here they are. This is Martin and Mildred. Yeah, my knee's cracked. Like I said before, I'm almost 40. But this is Mildred and Martin Rust. These are the parents of those two little children. They're over here. Don't ask me why. Like I said, the family of the Rust, which is my family, they're kind of sporadic. As you can see, this is a very pleasant, quiet little cemetery. It is barely on the map. If you were actually to look it up, you would literally see this 4-square quadrant that intersects right here. And I was over here by these two beautiful trees that are huge. And then we have these very old stones. See, this is Anheuser. Them, yes. So this is what the cemetery was originally named. I have done many rubbings of stones, and I've cleaned a lot of them off. It's actually been a while since I did the whole place, about 2 years. I need to come back and actually clean off a lot of these. But some of them have beautiful setups or vinage, like theirs. And I mean, as you can see, the vines actually touch, which is cool. However, this actually will erode the limestone. So it's better whenever you want a vine, if you're going to have it grow, which is really neat to do, then have it grow around, not up through the letters. So this is kind of what I do, is I will adjust, you know, the stones. It's actually a fairly newer one, Osborne's. But I'm back. Here is the cousins and Vicki. But the point I was trying to make is the reason why Vicki here does not have a stone is because on top of being strangled, sadly, her face was badly beaten in. She is virtually unrecognizable. A lot of family members actually disputed the verification of her. They just didn't want to believe that it could be her. And the person who did the identification, weirdly enough, was a priest who kind of knew her, but he didn't know her all that well. And he said he recognized her by her body, which is weird. Now, from my speakings with the officer, he said they identified her with fingerprints of an... And I said, well, when did they fingerprint 13-year-old? And they said because she had run away before. And she had gotten caught, and they fingerprinted her. Although she gave an alias of something else, they did, you know, say that it was her that time. And they had brought her home, actually. And so the second time, you know, the story goes, she actually ran to New York under the guise of the preacher. I know it sounds weird. I mean, I question a lot of that too. The fact is, she got on a bus. Her sister has told me a million times that the night before she got a phone call. And Vicki didn't sound very safe. She felt very, she sounded very matter of fact. And then in the middle of the night, she's gone. She left. She hopped a bus. She went to New York. She went to a shelter that the priest had advised her to go. You hear what I'm saying? And then 2 days later, after getting into this housing, she's walking back towards it, and she's murdered in an alley and thrown in a warehouse. And a dog walker found her body. Poor man. I really hope we find out soon who killed her. I know they started running the DNA. They said around January. So, I would hope soon they'll have an answer. I'm waiting for it. The family is waiting for confirmation Vicki is Vicki. That is their confirmation, which they went and they flew over here to Pennsylvania and collected samples from both mom and the siblings in order to compare against her to make sure she is their sister, which sadly I believe, as her sister and I have spoken, where else is she? It's not like she's appeared anywhere else. Be nice to think that, you know, 40 years she's somewhere in hiding is very unlikely. So a 40-year cold case, that's how long she's been here. And my goal with the rest of my family is to put a stone here. Once it is confirmed and the sisters and the brother and the mom can rest assured, she's right here. There will be a stone to recognize her and acknowledge her for who she is. Just to help her out. She is one of the main reasons I even started looking. Now, her and my friend, Wesley, that I had mentioned before, in Moorfield Cemetery. They were my whole reasonings for doing any of this. I started researching my family, and I wanted to know, where is she? What happened? Thankfully, people were able to describe perfectly that she was next to two babies, two rest babies, two of her cousins, under a beautiful tree. And that is exactly where we are. As you saw for a little walk, there's not exactly a lot of trees around here. So there's not many places else she could be. So I am in full agreement with that is the case, that she's right here. So I thank you all for indulging me in our little excursion today. Again, it is a beautiful piece of land. Over yonder, and you can see the hills. We are not in Appalachia. We are not near the Appalachian Mountains. I mean, I should say, maybe, in comparison to some people, yeah, I guess we would be. We're a few hours away. A few hours away is not over there. Those are normal hills, to different little towns that are around here. And actually, this direction is west. I'm facing Ohio. I'm not even facing east. I'm facing west. You go this way far enough, you're going to cross into the Ohio border. It's not that far. Probably 20 minutes. If I take my sweet time. I also wanted to take some time where it's quiet, to, further talk about my diary. I know. Sometimes I wonder if you guys get to this part and you're like, ugh. Or maybe you're like annoyed at the beginning, like hurry up and get to it. I don't know which one. Nobody tells me, so I don't know. But regardless of it, in the end, the goal is to leave these for my children, so that way they know, how my life was, and they don't have to guess. I'm saying it. So there's no guesswork involved. Oh, I think my mom went through this because of this is this and this is that. It is better to be open and honest and get it out there. This is like one of the few, and I know it might seem strange, but honestly I found a lot more people like this. They're almost embarrassed to say, yeah, we do a lot of the Find the Grave stuff. We try really hard to help manage the website and take responsibility for many of the memorials, making sure they're accurate. But they're afraid that they're going to call it weird, which honestly, I think they're so cool. Some of them are so dedicated that they will get like selfie sticks and go into crypts just to get photographs of the information inside, which I feel is so invaluable because honestly, many of these stones have worn away or have broken. I can't tell you how many times I've shown up at a cemetery where a tree has fallen down on somebody, and it's taking up a stone, or it's flipped it over, or there's actually a few stones up here, way up there, that are in half, especially the big spire ones, where they've worn away at the base. They get a good enough windstorm, poof, the thing's gone. It's upside down, and literally they weigh ridiculous amounts of weight. I have literally picked up ones that are just, those old-fashioned slabs, and I'm struggling. And I mean, I'm small. So yeah, I'm not exactly super strong. That said, they don't look like they're that heavy. They are. Try lifting up one of those pillars. You can't. I'm literally just trying to push it, to turn it over so I can see what's underneath it. And then I gotta clean it up, and then I maybe gotta do a rubbing, because the ground has literally worn away the information. Because it's sometimes, a lot of times, I find they fall face forward. It's sad because they're beautiful stones. I really, really appreciate the artwork that goes into the carvings. I mean, these ones are beautiful too, don't get me wrong. But a machine inscribes most of them. They're not hand chiseled like those ones. And that's, you know, I like to appreciate that kind of artwork. The amount of time it took to get just the right lettering. Unfortunately, limestone wears away. But yeah, so I wanted to get into a little bit of, please don't tell me you're slowing down to come in here. Maybe, maybe not. Please don't. Not now. He's still going. Okay, cool. Goodbye. Okay, cool. Still got my space. Okay. So if I remember correctly, I left off at around 7th grade. So in 7th grade, and forgive me, I'm checking my time. In 7th grade, like I said before, I was, and before I start, hang on, I gotta say, I'm waiting for my dog to be picked up from the vet. She's got to get her Cushing's test. I dropped her off an hour ago, and then took the time to come here. So there's likely a chance I'm going to get a phone call here in the next 20 minutes saying, hey, come get her. Because it takes an hour. It's like a diabetes test, sugar test. They take blood from her, and then they give her some medicine, and then they do it an hour later to see if, you know, things are working right, to make sure the dosage is correct. Because Cushing's is pretty brutal on an animal. Anyway, so okay, so let's start off again before I get cut off. So, like I said, 7th grade, I was starting to recognize, you know, trauma bonding, the fact that I actually had people that were similar to me, maybe even worse off than me, and I wanted to help them. This is where I started to notice that feeling of, once again, I don't care about myself, I want to make sure everybody else is okay. And that is how I deal mostly, especially back then, with my trauma. I don't acknowledge it. Most people don't want to acknowledge their own trauma. They want to focus on something else. They will look for anything else, which is normal. I mean, who wants to think about their own problems? It's exhausting sometimes. Sometimes you just want to forget they don't even exist. You just want to think, hey, I don't have time for my problems because I got so-and-so's problems. And that's how I dealt with things. So I did my artwork. I had a spider on me a second ago. Sorry, distraction. Not that I don't love the outdoors, but sometimes. No little black spiders. So anyway, I wanted them to pass. I wanted them to keep going with me. Stephanie, Sherry, and Justine. I wanted them to be with me. And I did not care how, as long as they passed. I would never cheat or, you know, well, I guess technically me doing their work is cheating. I should take that back. But I was never going to fraudulently, like, do anything to harm anybody else in order to help them succeed. There's no way. I could never. So, just like Vicki. Vicki is a distraction for me. Yeah, I know, that's kind of weird. I like to focus on trying to help her. She's not here. She can't help herself. So I do it because I can. Not because I want, something out of it. I guess I do get a little bit of satisfaction of saying I helped somebody, but I don't want other people to do that. I don't want them to pat me on the back and say, good job. I really don't. I mean, I like affirmation for things I do, but not like this. I don't want a pat on the back for just doing things that should be done. That's my way of thinking about things. Is, it's almost like I don't want to get pat on the back for taking out the trash. That's something I'm just supposed to do. You don't go, good job, you didn't throw a fit today. Good job, you took out the trash today. I know some people are to a level where they really need that. And okay, I don't. I can't. That feels very wrong to me. I can't do that. I need affirmations to, like my artwork. If I do my artwork and somebody says, wow, that's really great. Love that. Obviously that's not why I do it, but I won't say no to the compliment. But I also, there's a borderline to bragging too, in my opinion. And that's also, unfortunately, part of my trauma. Like, I can't even accept praise. And that's actually a actual problem with a lot of trauma too. Like, they want to be acknowledged, they want to be heard, but they feel like they're doing something wrong if they are heard. Like, they shouldn't be heard. Like, they should just get over it. And nobody should have to just get over it. You all should get some kind of acknowledgement for what you've gone through. Any apology from, the world. Even if they don't owe you one. Just I'm sorry you went through that. Like, they're not apologizing because they did anything wrong. They're just acknowledging the fact that you went through something bad. And you all deserve that. I hate the terms, get over it. It's in the past. Technically, yes. Technically, that's part of acceptance, is accepting the fact that you may have had a shitty-ass childhood. And apologies for swearing. But, again, it is acknowledgement to say, yeah, I had a bad childhood, but that's not going to change who I am today. I am not going to let what happened 40 years ago make decisions of how I act today. I'm consciously going to make a change. I'm consciously going to say, I'm not going to let that bother me today. That if I do get upset, I'm not going to go, well, 20 years ago, blah, 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 blah. I noticed a lot of that happening with my friends in the 7th grade. I did manage to keep all 3 of them into the 8th grade. And 8th grade was definitely a different setting than 7th. 7th was kind of weird. I've kind of felt like I was going through the motions, and I was just kind of waking up, I guess I should say. Hello. Thanks, birdies. You threw down some pine cones. But anyway, so, I thought I was starting to understand and recognize the world around me. It's one thing to be trauma reacted to people. It's another to be, God, I hate that word woke. I really do. I'm sorry. I understand its purpose, but I just hate the way it's used. It just sounds so terrible. But you're awake. You start to recognize that so-and-so is reacting different than so-and-so. These people seem to be mean. You may not recognize why, but you feel like something's wrong. And I don't mean like recognizing something's wrong like they're bullies. I mean like something's wrong that they are being bullies. And at the time, I didn't have enough foresight as a kid to see a lot of that. It's whatever. You're a kid. You're not really supposed to recognize that stuff. I did start to notice that I was going openly to my guidance counselor a lot more frequently. I would go to there just because, you know, I was having a rough day, or you know, something was off. My parents at home, you know, we had finally moved into our last house, I should say, before the end of my childhood. And I was in that one from 7th, 8th, all the way to graduation, and then a few years after. And by a few years, I mean like 2. Technically, maybe 1.5. But anyway, so the point is, 8th grade, I also started to have medical problems that I didn't know about. I'll tell you what, I started to have the panic attacks in 8th grade. I almost freaked out because it happened actually in the middle of a social studies class. I know I probably said that wrong, but it was weird because I wasn't even doing anything. I was just sitting there, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I can't breathe. Oh my God, what is that? Why can't I inflate my lungs? And I'm like, I feel like I was strangling myself. Like, is my shirt too tight? What is going on? I also had my first bout of low blood sugar in 8th grade. I am not diabetic, but my metabolism is fairly fast. And I need to, well, be, mindful of what I'm eating. Usually I have to keep peanut butter on hand almost all the time, just because. If anybody's ever had low blood sugar, peanut butter crackers. God forbid you're allergic to peanut butter, because usually then you gotta have glucose tablets. Or just something on hand that, you're not gonna be allergic to. But, I remember being in my math class, and I was just sitting there, and I started to feel very weird, almost like nauseated. And I was just sitting there, and I started to feel like I was gonna get dizzy. Like, you just feel that feeling coming on, like something's happening. Why am I winded? Why does it suddenly feel like I need to go to sleep? Like I suddenly want to lay down. It's weird. And the feeling that always sends me into oh no, it's a sugar episode, is the cold wash. It literally feels like your body has a ice cold bucket of water dumped over it. People ask you, do you get a cold sweat? No, I don't get a cold sweat. I feel like my body's gone cold, but I don't feel like I'm pouring sweat. You really are. You just don't really know it. That's what it feels like. It really feels like somebody's dumped water all over you. And then you're like, oh my God, I just want to lay down suddenly and curl up in a ball and go to sleep. You become kind of disoriented, and I literally laid my head on my desk, and I was just kind of like out of it, almost like I could just pass out. And my friend who was in my math class with me, the one that I always helped her with her homework, she's like tapping me on the shoulder, what's wrong? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, they want answers, and I can't even think. I just know something's happening. I don't feel right. And I go to the nurse's office, and of course they just give me some peanut butter crackers. I, perk up a little bit later, as I lay there in the nurse's office feeling like I'm gonna die. And then I go back to class and nobody tells me. I mean, nobody told me. They didn't call my parents. So, you know, now I'm going home going, I don't know what that was, but then the next time it happens, same thing. Nobody calls my family. Nobody tells me what it is. Just here, eat something. Because my math class was right before lunch, so I hadn't eaten, and the lunch was late in the day. So, you know, and I wasn't a big breakfast person. I hate breakfast. I know. I know, bad. I don't know why, but I can't. The smell of breakfast just makes me nauseated. The idea of pancakes and donuts. I know, I sound terrible. The best description I can give is it's too doughy. I know that sounds really weird. I feel like I'm choking to death on flour. I can't do it. Bear claws maybe. Definitely the jelly filled. I can do those. Especially the raspberry filled things. Especially the ones that sold at Walmart. Excellent. Love them. Anything else? A classic donut with sprinkles? Nope. Get that away from me. Can't do it. No. It's too rich. I can't stomach it. And anyways, so the point is, you know, 8th grade kind of went in a weird way. I think the most significant part of it was, not only did I have a lot of support from an art teacher, and I was, you know, I was supported in a science class very heavily. And, you know, actually I was starting to learn that I didn't really have friends. That these people were just using me as entertainment. The closest person I thought who at the time I thought was my bestest friend. Actually, during science class, she came up behind me while I was standing and she kicked me in the back of the knees. Like, right in this area. Right here. Literally, I'm standing and she boots me back here. And I turn around and I look at her like, what was that? And she's like, you were supposed to fall. Sorry? Like, why would you want me to fall? Like, it didn't even compute. It was like, what do you mean? Like, were you supposed to catch me? Like, it did not compute to me at all that she was bullying me. Because everybody else was staring at her. Because she told them she was going to go do this. And they were all excited to watch me fall on my ass. How nice. So, obviously I didn't fall. And after that, she kind of stayed away. I also played the stock market. There was a stock market group, and I played that. She was part of it, and another girl. And you know how when you do a group science project and the other people bail, so you're doing all the work and then they share the credit? Yeah, that's what it was. I was the only one showing up. I was the only one putting in my time. I liked my math. It's easy. The goal was to make the most money when it was time to sell everything. And actually, I accidentally stumbled upon a misprint in the paper because our whole thing was we had to bring in actual clippings from our newspaper with the stock market closings. And somebody misprinted Walmart shares as single digits. And I saw that and I was like, ooh, $5 a share, that sounds amazing. And with my fake money, I bought every share I could get. So of course when I sold them, I won. And my teacher was just, what is this? How'd you do that? How'd you come up with billions of dollars? I'm like, I sold all my stock, like I was supposed to. By the time I sold it, obviously the correction was fixed and it was like 30 something a share. And So I won. And then they found out that it was because the one I used, which obviously I don't control the paper. It's their fault for misprinting it. I'm a kid. But once again, I am at fault because I didn't know that the newspaper screwed up. I'm getting called out by everybody in the entire group. I mean, frankly, the whole thing is fake. It's not like we actually had real money. It was literally like a little game where we were all gifted fake money and we just did our math problems, and at the very end, you know, once we sold everything, it was whoever got the most money got this little fabulous prize where we got to go to Cleveland and visit one of the big banks. And I won. And everyone hated me. I could never do anything right. I swear to God. It's like, it didn't matter what I did. Anything I thought I did right, I did wrong. Which comes way back to the beginning of what I was saying of, I don't want praise. I don't want pats on the back for doing something that's just supposed to be done. I also don't want it because it feels wrong. Because I feel like I shouldn't have it. That's not exactly the case. Now that I'm an adult, I can look back and go, I was a fucking kid. Sorry for swearing. But I was a kid. And I didn't know how the paper worked. All I knew was I followed the directions of cut out the damn thing, bring it to school, use it. Save each of them. I did. Do the math. I did. And at the very end, you do. And they kept saying, well, you must have known. You must have known it was a misprint and you took advantage of it. I was like, dude, no. What is wrong with you people? Like, and I told them, I showed them the clipping. And they once again tried to tell me that I knew, that I should have called our Sharon Herald and told them they screwed up. Like, are you serious? I am a child. What is wrong with you people? I mean, as an adult, I think that's kind of where I'm at nowadays, especially with protecting my stepchildren, is looking back at them and thinking about what I went through, how I didn't know anything, and how sometimes I got to think about that. Like, maybe they don't know because they're children. I mean, technically, they're not supposed to know things that adults know. We try, but their little comprehensions can't do it yet. And frankly, they shouldn't have to. Especially stock market. Come on. You're in 7th and 8th grade, and you're told to do the stock market, and you do it the exact same way they tell you to do it. You win, and then they tell you you're a loser. I went on my trip, and I felt bad every minute of being there. I felt like I didn't belong. I promised myself I wouldn't cry on this video, so I'm going to do everything I can not to. I know, that's probably wrong too. Shouldn't shame myself for crying, but it is, you know, one of my triggers. So it is what it is. So, and there is the vet. Hang on. I told you the vet be calling. So they called, and I'm back. So now I have to take off. I will end that for right now. Thank you for taking the time, you know, to listen to me. And remember to be easy on yourself. You do deserve your praise. You do not deserve to be scolded, and you did not deserve any of the shit that happened to you when you were a kid. The criticizing, the making you feel like you were lower than what you were. You were a kid. Forgive yourself. So let's end with that. This is something I work on with my stepson all the time in his sessions. Forgive yourself, and acknowledge the fact that you had no control, and that's not your fault. Things happened, and they're not your fault. I mean, you were a kid. You did the best with what you could with what knowledge you had. Some people knew a lot. Some people know nothing at all. There's a book out there my therapist always talks about, the one that says The Boy That Was Raised by Wolves. I think you can understand the point of the book is to say that if you are raised by wolves, I know that's not actually what the book says, but the title of it is implied. The title of it is implied to say, if that is all you know, that is all you know. And it's not your fault if you don't know anything else. It is the job of the adults to help teach us. We can learn. We absolutely can learn. But if the information is not provided to us, if we don't have even direction on how to get it, like, you know, I don't need to feed my kids a book to find it. I can tell them, hey, if you want to learn about it, here's where you go. That's all you gotta do. But when people don't even do that, and we gotta figure it out on our own, be proud. Be proud of the information you had to fight for. Own that. Seriously. You did what you could with what you had. And you're here. You're here today. You're here now, listening to me talk. And you deserve all the high fives and all the back pats and the praise for being where you're at. You're taking steps on your own. Nobody's telling you to watch my video. I mean, YouTube may even be like throwing it at you and saying, there's a suggestion. You are choosing to watch it. That is your choice. Because, I don't know, maybe you're curious, maybe you want to learn something. Maybe you want to, understand something about yourself. And I'm here to tell you, you are you. You're just fine the way you are. And everything you have done to get to where you are today is amazing. Don't let anybody tell you different. Don't make, if people are going, why didn't you learn that 5 years ago? Well, because I didn't have access to it 5 years ago. Now I know it. Who cares when I learned it? I learned it already. Here I am. Don't let people put you down. You have every right to say, I'm here, this is what I know, and this is where I'm at, and I'm here because I want to be here. You are literally making a choice to be here today. I'm not joking. Some people don't make that choice. And some people, the choice is made for them. But you are choosing today to take some time to yourself to watch a video. And I'm thankful that you're here with me. I hate to throw out at the very end here, remember Vicki? But remember Vicki. I'm here with her. And she deserves to be heard too. She was gone in 1981, but she's not forgotten. I'm here with her. And I didn't even know her. She didn't know me. But I know her now, and that's enough. And she deserves to have her Justice Day. Doesn't matter how long it takes. Alright, thanks y'all. I'll see you later. Maybe I'll come to another cemetery. Maybe the one I usually go to. Or maybe Hillcrest. We'll see. Alright, thanks everyone.